Hello and welcome! This is Krylic, and today we're playing Kerbal Space Program. I'm going to be showing you two designs I have. They have currently come out with point 2, so I do not know if these work with these new update yet. We'll probably find out later tomorrow, as it's getting late. This one here is the SRX1. It is the Scout and Reconnaissance Experiment 1, modeled after the B-1 Lancer and the SR-71 Blackbird, with a little bit of a flying design. It does have pros and cons of that. I'll be demonstrating later. One design flaw I have yet to fix is the landing gear. It is extremely hard to land this thing because the angle you approach has to be very low. If you come in too high, it'll knock out a wing or two, or an engine or two. Here we are taking off and getting ready for vertical climb, which is shared with the F1 or the F-15 Eagle. It's actually quite amazing this thing can do that for its size. This is a very large ship. Alright, so we've hit 4 kilometers up, and we're now at a safe height to start doing some maneuvers. As I said, this thing is quite maneuverable for its size. It's actually a little bit too maneuverable at certain speeds. You can actually put this thing in a flat spin, which can be very hard to get out of. Let's see, what else? Also, the weight of the thing is also a thing you have to deal with. It turns too quickly, and the momentum actually has to shift. As you see this thing do a little bit of a jerk. One of the issues there with a flying wing design is that without any fly-by-wire or any kind of computer aid, this thing can be very unstable at times. If you turn too fast, if you bank too quickly, you can turn yourself in a flat spin or a flip, which the flips ain't so hard to get out of. It's the flat spins that are a real pain in the ass. Here we are doing a little barrel roll, or a loop-to-loop. Usually it's good to cut the engines near the top, so that way you can get your momentum and your ass end back out from underneath you, and then you hit the thrusters and you're right behind the guy that you were that was chasing you, just like off Top Gun. Alright, now it's time to head on to the North Pole. This thing does about 14,000 kilometers as cruising speed at a height of about, what was it, 26 kilometers, I think. You go a little bit too much higher than that, you start running into flame out issues. If I remember correctly, 14,000 or 1,400 kilometers is about 3,000 miles an hour, which is about Mach 5. It's pretty fast. It should hit the North Pole in about 10 to 15 minutes. Without external fuel tanks, it can make it there and back to the landing strip with just a very fine amount of fuel left. You really don't have much time to really make any kind of corrections on the return trip home, otherwise you run out of fuel. Let's see. So we're just climbing, picking up some airspeed, get to our cruising altitude, and hit our cruising speed, and we should be at the North Pole really quick. It's time to say goodbye to the little base there. We'll be heading off, hopefully reaching the North Pole without incident. Man, I just love little Jebediah. He's the only one that seems to appreciate the time it takes and the effort to make these little ships and airplanes and rockets and test them. And everyone else is all like, "Oh, my vagina hurts. I don't want to get in this thing." Jebediah there, man, he's just rocket man. As you can see, we're starting to hit our cruising speed. It goes quite fast. The only problem with a skimmer type vessel is that you're just teetering on the edge of losing control. As you go higher and higher and higher, the air becomes thinner, and the air intakes become less efficient. So you end up having to throttle down a little bit, or decline, or putting your nose down and losing altitude, and getting airspeed. One problem is if you go too high, usually you'll flame out, and the engines almost never flame out together. So you end up putting yourself into another flat spin. I make this look easy only because I've been flying this thing for quite a while. I know about where it loses control, how much thrust you can put at certain heights, how quickly you can turn it, the incline, so I don't go too high and I don't actually lose airspeed by dropping altitude. That is one crazy thing about being up 20 kilometers. You can actually see the curvature of Kerbal, or Kerbin, I should say. Kerbin. So about the landing gear, one of the problems is that I need to take these back wheels and move them a little bit further back. There is a current clipping issue when taking off or landing at a steep angle, that the engines will collide with the ground and you end up losing thrust, which is a big issue if you want to return home. So I need to take those wheels back. I haven't had the chance to yet. As you'll see, the next project I'll show you after this flight is quite big. There is the coast of the North Pole, and it only took about 10 to 15 minutes since we were thinking around flying, showing you the maneuverability for about 3 minutes. So it's been about 11 minutes to reach the edge or the coast of the North Pole from the airstrip. So in an earlier test of my video recording, I actually tried to land. I came in a little too steep and came down hard and ended up crashing my game and losing my game footage. I only had video or audio, so I had to re-record. So this time I'm not going to try and land until I get that landing gear adjusted, so I don't have to be coming in so steep or coming in so narrow. Really help. So here I'm just going to go up into the edge of space and put myself in a flat spin and show you the ejection seat I have set up for this thing, or the ejection pod I should say. There we are, going into a flat spin. The engines are flaming out. I'm losing all control of the plane. Here we are in the edge of space. You can see stars and got the moon in one view and got this setting sun in the other. It's pretty crazy. You can see this night and day in the same little screenshot. So yep, just spinning, spinning, spinning. Not really too much you can really do until you come below the threshold of thicker air. and you can really start trying to muscle your way around. And as you can tell, I'm about to actually fail at failing. I'm trying to show you the ejection seat, so I put myself in a flat spin to try and have a crash. At which point I actually regain control, and I'm just going to end up just using the ejection pod just for demonstration purposes, because I really do not want to try landing this thing. It takes about 4 to 5 minutes depending on how low you are to the ground at the approach. And as you can see, there I am regaining control. Not always the easiest thing to do, but luckily I did go up high enough that I'd had time to regain control. But that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to show you what it looks like to eject. Alright, so we were deploying the rear parachute to slow the actual ship down, and now we'll be deploying the escape pod. In earlier tests, I had issues with the jet fighter depending on what you were doing, specifically like the flat spin you've seen. The jet will actually crash into the command pod, killing the Kerbin, which is exactly the opposite of what you're trying to do with an escape pod. There's the ship crash landing to the ground. After about 2.5 kilometers, items disappear, so you will see that thing disappear without an explosion. That is a nice thing about the escape pod, is it does actually double as a crewed glider. It can be kind of hard once you start getting lower and lower air speeds to control it. That's why I like the parachutes. But if you lose parachutes or forgot to put on parachutes on the escape pod, it actually can safely land. Although landing, like I said, can be difficult if you lose too much airspeed. And luckily for us, we do have the ability to warp once the chute's deployed, and you come down at less than 5 meters a second. It takes a long time to hit the ground. Oh, I've hit the ground, and I'm having trouble trying to get the camera up to show you where we've hit. There we are. Time to get Jebediah out on EVA and check out this cool scene we have here. We're just past the curvature to where you can't see the sun, but you can see the sunset and see space. It's quite serene, actually. There you have daylight on one side and the night sky on the other. There's Minimus. Alright, extend the ladder and have Jebediah go on EVA. Oh dear God, Jebediah. I know you're in a hurry to get on the moon, but you're not on the moon, buddy. You're just at the North Pole. Not quite far enough. Poor Jebediah. Alright, and that is the SRX1. Alright, time to show you my next project. It's taken me quite a bit of time and effort. About 2 days of design and about 3.5 days of research to come up with the Elune Project 3. What this is I had developed a rocket plane that can actually make it to the moon. I need to work on the landing a little bit because it is more of a horizontal craft rather than a vertical landing rocket. So I have a Kerbin stuck on the moon, and this is a little design. I have a satellite on top with a rover, and then a lander that drops off an escape pod, a buggy barracks, and a command pod for the poor Kerbin on the moon. There we have the docking port. I also have a space station that I have up in the air. Thank God, though, this thing does not need to refuel. I really don't want to put something this huge next to something so delicate. Well, that's all the time for today. Stay frosty, my friends.